I don't care. Get more sunlight. But I got 10 minutes. Get more. I heard Dr. Satya Pandan, who's the foremost authority. He wrote their circadian code. Everyone needs to read that book or listen to it on audio, on Audible. And he said the other day, cumulatively, it's easy for you in Florida, but for others, they're going to go,
Yeah.
cumulatively, every day, you need an hour worth of sun exposure to your body. So it's 15 minutes in the morning with the red, the UVB ray, or
Like when the
UV.
sun comes up,
Yes,
you mean like
when
the
the
red
sun
light?
comes up,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
maybe the UVA, whatever it is. 30 minutes of vitamin D,
Okay.
and then check your phone if you have the D Minder app. It's free. And then
Oh, I'm
as
going
the
to get that. Okay.
oh,
D
I love
minder.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah, D
Okay.
Minder. And then as the sun starts to set, those are red rays again, and they set your melatonin. He says an hour a day.
This is True Voice Unfiltered, the podcast where raw truth meets real transformation. I'm your host, Daria Anne, ghostwriter, content strategist, and holistic health warrior. No, I'm not a doctor, nurse, nutritionist, or any kind of medical professional, and this show does not dispense medical advice. I'm just an informed patient sharing what I've learned on my own healing journey. I also interview accomplished authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and functional medicine practitioners who are transforming lives. If you're ready to break free from the sick care system, reclaim your health, and transform your life, you're in the right place. Let's get unfiltered. Hi, everybody, and welcome to True Voice Unfiltered. I am so excited about today's episode with Lisa Fischer, who is the host of the Lisa Fischer Said podcast. I first met Lisa when she interviewed Dr. Amy, and as you all know, and as I document in my book, I am part of Dr. Amy's, now I'm part of her progression program, which is like a maintenance program after reaching thyroid optimization. And I was a patient of Amy's. I started out as a patient of hers, got my thyroid optimized. She took me to the finish line. And so I've been following Amy's podcast for several years. And then I saw her interviewed on the Lisa Fischer Said podcast. And oh my gosh, I was blown away by Lisa Fischer. I mean, what an amazing woman. She's just so genuine and funny, and I love her delivery. She's got the greatest personality, but most of all, you can tell she has a very genuine heart in what she's trying to do to help people. Lisa is also a Hashimoto's patient. She has also walked the talk when it comes to making the lifestyle changes necessary to optimize the thyroid and maintain good health. So we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about her journalism career because she started out as a local reporter in Arkansas. And I want to ask her more about that and how that led to her starting her podcast. And of course, her thyroid journey, her journey with Hashimoto's, reaching optimization, maintaining health. And now Lisa actually helps other people maintain good nutrition and reach optimal health as well. So you're going to love this interview. She's so funny and just so personable. And I was a guest on her show. Lisa was one of the few, along with Dr. Amy, gracious podcast hosts that have a big following that said yes to me when I asked if I could come on their podcast to talk about my book, My Escape from the Sick Care System. So I then invited Lisa on my show because I wanted to interview her, and she graciously accepted the invitation. And so you're going to learn a lot today, and I think you're going to like Lisa as much as I do. I highly recommend that you follow her podcast, Lisa Fischer Said. She's on YouTube, and she's also on all of the other podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify and all of those. So it's called Lisa Fischer Said. Follow her there. Listen to her podcast. You will learn a lot. She interviews exceptional guests, but she just has a fun, disarming way about her that I know you're all going to love. So enjoy this episode of True Voice Unfiltered with Lisa Fischer Said. Lisa, welcome to True Voice Unfiltered. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm having some tea with some half and half in it. That's so good.
Sounds awesome. That's one of the things I love about you. You keep it real. And I discovered you when you interviewed Dr. Amy a while back. And oh my gosh, you just have such a wonderful style, like just a whole wonderful presence, and you're funny, but yet you get the information out of the interview. And so I started following you after that. Yeah. So, but Lisa, you have a background in journalism. So I kind of wanted to start there because I was on your website today reading your story, and it's so interesting. So just tell the listeners about how you got into journalism and a little bit about you.
I've always been Katie Questions. I was always the person that raised her hand and said, but what? And I didn't know, it's just my innate desire. I'm nosy. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what the facts are so that I can tell you what the facts are. Not what to believe, but This is what I know. This is what's happened. And that's what really a journalist is. It's a fact. Truly, a journalist is not someone that should be swaying your opinion. I mean, you make your own opinion, your own decision on your opinion. Great. But it's not my job to tell you now, this is what's really going on in the war in Iran right now. I don't want to hear that. I want to know what are the facts, what's happened. So as a journalist, that was always my thing. Fact gather, me tell you what's going on. Now, I'm also the life of the party. I'm in the middle of it. I don't want to miss a thing. I'm a high extrovert. A lot of journalists are not. They're actually introverts. And the definition of introversion is they recharge by downtime that's alone. And an
Oh,
extrovert,
interesting.
it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you're talkative or quiet. So everyone always thinks, well, if you talk a lot, you're an extrovert. Not necessarily. But I'm truly an extrovert who is loquacious, who talks a lot, but I get my energy by other people. So I've always been in the mix of things. We used to say in Arkansas here, people would say, "Hey, I need to list my house. Should I list it?" And they go, "No, go tell Lisa Fischer." Like, I'll get the word out. So I've always been that
Awesome.
person. My friend who's the public relations person of Arkansas, Natalie Godotti, always says, "I'm the original influencer." She said, "You were doing it in the '80s and '90s. You were telling us where to shop, what to do." And if you know anything about my past, you know, I'm very authentic to who I am. I don't talk about things that I don't use, right? And so that's also my journalist side because I've gathered the facts about that product or this event and I want to tell you about it. And thus, I therefore regurgitate all the facts. I tell way too much too, but it's that way you can make your own decision. So I've always had a journalist heart. I love fact gathering. I love learning and knowing more.
Yes, and let me say, I wish more journalists were like you.
Mm.
Who, what, where, when, how. Like, here's
Ri
the facts.
Those are the
Draw
facts.
your own
That's what my
conclusions.
professor told us. So he
Yeah.
never I mean, he's rolling in his grave. I say that all the time because I think, Bob Douglas, I'm sorry, but I know we
Yeah.
were taught better, and I hope my
Yeah.
generation isn't doing that.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, you have a very compelling personal story, and I wondered if you would share that. I watched your video on your website today, and it was so moving. So, if you wouldn't mind, talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, it makes me cry to tell it. I
Awesome.
was born to a beautiful red-haired mother in Newark, New Jersey, and a very witty father, a Jewish man. Frank Kaplan was his name. Frank Kaplan was, I mean, talk about the life of the party. He ran around with Rodney Dangerfield, who was a comic, but now Rodney Dangerfield had a different name when my father ran around with him. It was Jack somebody. I don't even know. And they were all siding salesmen. So all these Jews I was in Newark, so Jersey and New York, you know,
Oh,
very close
yeah.
to each other, as you know. A lot of the Jews were siding salesmen. They were called Tin Men and they all ran around together. But with my father and my mother, the thing that prevented them from achieving any great success in life was both of them were addicts and alcoholics. And so their marriage busted up pretty quickly after I was born. My mother, she stayed married to him for 16 years. He had affairs. He had addiction issues. She did too. And so finally, when I was born after many miscarriages, my mother named me Lisa, which her book said it meant God's gift. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it meant, but I was to her because she had all these miscarriages.
Aw.
She was
Yeah.
36 having me, and back in the 60s, that was old.
Yeah.
No, the women were done having babies
Mhm.
25 or 26. They were done. She said when she walked me to kindergarten that the people asked, "Are you the grandmother?" And she'd go, "No, I'm the mother," because she was
Wow.
41 when I went to kindergarten. So they divorced quickly after I was born, and she remarried. And this time she married another Jew, but this one was a pill popper. So the first one was a drunk, and the second was a pill popper. And
Mm.
the pill popper, they divorced, obviously, not too long after they married because of his addictions. And he killed himself. And this was
Oh, no.
he
Huh.
was 42 years old and he was bipolar. And this is about the time that lithium was an option for bipolar disorder. They called it manic depressant then. And lithium is a very powerful drug and it really can mitigate the disease for them because what bipolars love are the highs, and you know, what goes up must come down.
Yeah.
And so in something happened and he took his life. And I thought that was my father all my life because that's who was the most recent suitor. Now, I never really we didn't live with him long, but he I just thought that was my father, and I came home from school, and my mother said, "That's not your father. Your father actually," good news and bad news. The bad news is the man you thought was your father is dead. The
Oh,
good news
wow.
was, yeah,
Jeez.
it was heartbreaking. I was 10 years old. And I say all this with levity because that's my style, is to
Yeah,
laugh to keep from crying, because I've had a
sure.
lot of heartache. And she said, "Well, your father is Frank Kaplan." And because I'm so dense, I said, "The one I look like and sound like? Yes, that happens to be your
Oh,
father." Okay, so
oh,
I call him and say, "Daddy, it's me." Well, he doesn't want me. He's like, "What do you want?" I go, "Well,
oh,
I just found out you're my daddy." And he goes, "Get your mother on the phone." I mean, he didn't
oh
want
my
an
gosh.
obligation.
10 years
So,
old. Oh my
yes, 10 years
gosh.
old.
Yeah.
So, my mother had because of her addiction, she couldn't keep a job. I mean, it's a handicap.
Yeah, it
It
is.
it really is a handicap. And I have no judgment, and I love that community. I love to see people go through recovery because it's hard. It's hard. And she never did. So we left Newark and moved to New Orleans, where she was the first Miss New Orleans. She was a beautiful redhead. And 3 weeks after my 12th birthday, she overdosed and died, and I came home
Oh,
from
Lisa.
school, and she was dead, and I had a cousin who was down the street who just happened to be waiting outside because my mother didn't answer her phone that day, and she was suspicious, because if you have someone in your life who battles addiction and they're all of a sudden quiet, or ghosting you,
Mm.
that's when people ask questions like, "What's going on?" So at 47, my mother had overdosed. I was the love of her life. So for a long time, I thought it was suicide, and I worked for a psychiatrist 30 years ago doing some marketing for her, and I explained everything that happened, and she said, "Your mother didn't kill herself." I went, "How do you know?" She goes, "Oh, drunks are real sloppy." And my mother was taking painkillers the night she died. So she
Oh,
was drinking
mixed
the
and matched.
wine.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was
Oh,
too much, and anyone
yeah.
who knows anything about redheads,
Oh,
they know that they're real sensitive to a lot of things, and so it was just
oh,
too
wow.
much, and I don't even know she took the whole bottle. I mean, it doesn't she just had some pain, she'd broken her toe, and that was Darvon in the '70s. I don't even know if they prescribe that anymore. So that was a Tuesday in, my 6th grade year in Gretna, which is on the West Bank of New Orleans. Town, Gretna. People in that area will know where I'm talking about. And so I had this cousin who was up the street, but she had 4 young children. She had been widowed. Her husband was killed in a sniper incident. He was a New
Oh my
Orleans police
goodness.
officer. And so she couldn't take me. She wanted to. She said, "You can stay here, but I have no place for you." So I had cousins in Arkansas who I'd met one time, and the cousin came to New Orleans, to Gretna, and came to get me and said, "Let's just go to Arkansas to give you." I really had no place to stay because I called my father and said, "Hey, mom's dead." He said, "Nothing I can do about it." And I had a
Oh my
brother
gosh.
16 years older, because remember, she had all the miscarriages in those 16 years and finally had me. And he was in New York, and he just said, there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. So for all intents and purposes, I was really an orphan. So these cousins in Arkansas said, "Just come to our house. We just built a home in a small,
Oh,
small town, and we have 2 children. One is your age," and so that they would be my second cousins, their children, and they moved me in, and I never left. I mean, the Gibson
aw,
family was their name. They adopted me.
aw,
I
that's
I
awesome.
changed my last name to Gibson, so I was Lisa Kaplan Gibson. I named my children after them, so they're very, very dear to me. They passed away a few years ago, but they were very dear to me and made huge sacrifices. They too battled addiction and alcoholism, though. So it was kinda
Wow,
everywhere I
tough.
looked, and I guess because of that, it's made me think I don't wanna do that. I used to be a social drinker, I don't even do that anymore, but, I have a half sister in Manhattan, so my father, fathered, a woman's baby out of wedlock well, he was married to my mother, and she's in New York, and I met her finally 20 years ago. We finally met. We looked a lot alike. We had so many similarities.
Cool.
She's in advertising. I mean, it just shows genetics. But she
Yeah.
too never battled addiction, didn't care much about it because she had seen it modeled in a way that it wasn't attractive to us. Other people run to it because that's what was patterned for them.
Right. Yes.
And for us,
Yeah.
it made us go, I'm not interested. So that leads me
True.
to so I went to college in Arkansas. I stayed here. I started my career. I got a degree at the University of Arkansas in journalism and came to Little Rock, which is the capital, and worked at the big TV stations and did radio. And I've had a fun time running my mouth all these years.
Well, you're so inspiring, Lisa, for a lot of reasons. And I just want to say, I don't know if you ever read the book, The Body Keeps the Score
Yes.
by Bessel van der Kolk. Just want to say this because I never had addiction in my family or anything, but I did date someone who was, and man, that book really sort of opened my eyes as to what was happening. It didn't work out because it just wasn't meant to happen. Wasn't meant to work out. I mean, you can't make somebody. That's one thing I learned. You can't want something for somebody more than they want it for themselves. Yeah.
I always say now, you can't care more about their health or their
Right.
mental health or their anything than they do.
Exactly.
And so The Body Keeps a Score is what made me understand. I have a high ACE score, the adverse childhood
Yes.
experiences. Anything over like 2 or 3 is high. Mine's a 7. I thought it was an 8, but all these things have to happen when you check the list. You can Google adverse childhood experiences under the age of 18. And one of them, I had a brother, the people who adopted me, their child went to prison, but it was after my 18th birthday. So I have 7. I have a 7 on that because I just had some terrible things happen to me. I was sexually abused
Yeah.
by a neighbor. I mean, just some terrible
Oh
things
my
happened.
God.
And
Mm.
that's why I think that's my root cause of my autoimmune conditions.
Yes, which I want to get to. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that too, because Lisa, you are also Hashimoto's
Mhm.
patient, and you've dealt with autoimmune conditions.
Mm.
How did you first discover that something was going on with your thyroid?
I was telling people, and now I kind of think it's a time in our lives that we call thyropause. As we enter perimenopause, sometimes the thyroid, which is also produces a hormone. So we're talking about our hormones, right? I
Yeah.
was saying, when I was about 37, I said, I'm really tired. Something's wrong. They'd go, well, you're 37. I was homeschooling my children. Well, it's because you're homeschooling. I went, no, this is a painful fatigue.
Yeah.
It's a pregnancy fatigue. I would fall asleep in a conversation. I didn't sleep well. I started losing the outer third of my eyebrows, my hair. That's why Dr. Amy Horniman and I connect. I love what she does, and we connected so deeply. And I was saying things for 4 years, and they just said I had depression. And my husband would say, "You're not depressed, but you're the most tired person I know." And his mother had stage 4 cancer. He goes, "My mother has more energy than you do." And I'm known for my
My
energy. So when I say I'm tired, you people need to listen.
exactly.
And so
Yeah.
they said, "Well," so they gave me some Adderall for my ADD, which helped
Jeez.
that I
Yeah.
know. Isn't it terrible? They gave me an
Yeah.
antidepressant that just it made me more constipated. I mean, and I wasn't depressed. I was just tired.
Yeah.
It wasn't until someone saw the vitiligo, and vitiligo has such a correlation with Hashimoto's because my thyroid tests were normal.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until this doctor saw I said, "Now I do have vitiligo." I first had it under my arms. I was 39. I'm 63 now, so I'm kinda late getting it. And then the doctor whipped his head around and said, and welcome to the Hashimoto's family. I mean, if you have that,
Oh gosh.
in fact, they asked about your family relatives. I said, my mother overdosed when she was 47. And he said, what was going on with her? Was she overweight? I said, no, but she smoked and drank all day. I mean, I'd be skinny too if I did that. And I said, but she was 47, was going to have an ablation or whatever they were doing in the 70s because she had this serious heavy periods. And he goes, your mother had thyroid disease. I was like, I'll be darned.
My
I
goodness.
named
Yeah.
some things. He said, "That was your mother probably had Hashimoto's and her sisters had it, and we didn't know." I had a fat aunt once, and I don't mean that to be funny, but I'm saying I had only one because all the others all smoked, but she was in New Orleans, and she'd wear a muumuu, and it's hot there. It's
Yeah.
humid and hot,
Yes, it is.
and she'd wear a muumuu and real thin hair and
Oh,
didn't
another
have any.
sign.
Mhm. And he said, "Your mother and all her
Conversation.
sisters all had thyroid disease." So it took me
No.
4 years to get diagnosed. That's why I advocate for women all the time. Please, someone just messaged me yesterday. When someone says they're tired, believe them. I mean, we're not
Exactly.
doing it for attention. We're doing it to feel
Exactly.
better. And so once I righted that ship, I do have 6 autoimmune conditions in total. That was the one that was kind of the bane of my existence, but gave me the foresight and energy to advocate for myself and other, especially women. I have a rare swallowing disorder called achalasia no one's heard about, but it's often people that have Hashimoto's can have this one. The vitiligo, I have alopecia, I have the balding, which is in circular spots. I've had it in my eyebrows and in my hair. I have a ton of hair, but I want to keep my hair, And
It looks beautiful, your
thank
hair.
you.
It
I
really
I have a
does.
ton of it.
Yeah.
Pernicious anemia. I have some others.
Oh my
But anyway,
goodness.
I've
Okay.
reversed most of them. I wish I had all the things we know now about reversing Hashimoto's. I didn't know 25 years ago. Mine isn't the best it's ever looked. My antibodies are down. My antibodies once were like 2,400, which I
Crazy.
mean,
Yeah.
yes, it made the
Yeah.
teaching hospital here in Arkansas go, "Ooh, that's crazy." But now I see
Yeah.
the body keeps a score. It's all related.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's one thing I like about functional medicine. And when you work with a thyroid specialist,
Yeah.
functional medicine thyroid specialist like Dr. Amy, and there's many others, um, they actually understand. They run all the tests. Like, let me ask you, did you have an issue at the beginning getting all the proper tests? Did they stop at TSH?
Girl,
Like,
that's what the problem was for 4 years. They
yeah,
said TSH is normal.
oh,
That's
drives me
what
crazy.
I
Yeah,
know. It made me literally almost made me insane because I was like, something is wrong. So I started at about 2.1, which really I think is too high now at TSH to feel my
yeah,
best. I'm under a point 0.1. Right? Wait, I can't do numbers. I'm under 1 point. Yes.
I
So
gotcha.
I'm
Yeah,
like at point 9 or something. Like I want it low to feel my best. And so that number, I kept all those lab values because I knew something was wrong. And so I started like at TSA. TSH was at 2 point and then 2.5 and then 3 point. See, it's an insidious onset. It's slow onset. And it wasn't until that doctor who listened to me and said, "Oh, you've got vitiligo." He said, "Let's look at your antibodies." So my TSH was only 3.8, which is subclinical hypothyroidism. But that first lab value with my antibodies, they were greater than 1,300, which they don't need to be more than 40. And that's when he said, "Well, welcome to the Hashimoto's family." And I said, "What is it?" Because they kept saying, "Are you sure you're not bipolar?" And I went, "Why?" And they said, "Because you're energetic in here and you said you're tired at home." And I went, "Because I'm a performer. I mean, I've been in front of a camera for 40 years. I can turn it on. If there's a camera, I can turn it on and be delightful and funny. I'm not going to come in here and drag." But I was just so tired. And so it was the antibody test. And my doctor said, I then found an endocrinologist who was old timey and listened to what the patient said instead of lab values. And
fantastic.
he
Yeah,
said, "There's so much inflammation when antibodies are high. That's why you feel bad." And so my antibodies are low now and I feel great.
awesome. And what was your reverse T3? Did they run that too? I'm just curious
Well,
before you got.
Dr. Amy's the one who now has me look at that. And a year ago, mine had bumped up very high. And so I called her in a panic and she told me what to do. And it's now come back down because we don't want that one high, right? Reverse
Right, that's
T3.
got to be below 12. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
mine was a 5 the last time I had it
okay,
tested.
mine was
Yeah.
24 about a year ago. And
Wow. Okay.
we were having to uncover some things. I did whatever she said and it worked.
I mean, I think it wasn't until I started working with her that I even knew what reverse T3 was. I don't think anybody ever
She
measured that
really
before.
hones
Yeah.
in on some things, some tests that your provider might go, "We're not gonna do that." You're the patient. You're the customer,
Yes.
and the customer's always right. It's your money. Then just pack
Yes.
up your paper dolls and go, "I'll go someplace else."
I wish more people would do that. I think more people are
Uh,
starting to understand. You and I have talked about this before. I mean, I'm in one of Dr. Amy's thyroid groups, and I'll see the same people posting like
uh,
3, 4, 5 years later. I'm so frustrated with my doctor. They won't do this. Buy for it. Hire the doctor. Invest in your health. Like,
It's like if you bought a car and because I always say, liken your body to the finest car, a Mercedes or a Lamborghini. If your Lamborghini's tires if they keep rolling off or the back hatch doesn't work, you take it in you repair it till it's fixed.
exactly.
Don't come home until you feel better or go to another dealership. That doctor, go to another provider.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And whether or not they're on your insurance, you've got to find the right person.
you know what? I'm breaking up with insurance. My husband and I have
Yes,
made
I
the
did.
decision now, and we are doing a catastrophic Medishare or whatever, one of those things in case
Yeah, for
I get hit.
hospitalization, God
Yeah,
forbid, right? Yeah,
hospitalization, right. But
right.
we're just paying cash from now on because we only
What I
go
do.
for lab work twice a year, and I
Mhm.
do have thyroid medicine I have to take every month.
Yeah, well, me too. And I want to make that other point too. I'm not like totally against prescriptions. Like, what I'm on NP thyroid. I'm on
Me
low
too.
dose naltrexone. That's a prescription. But the
Yeah,
point is that it actually addresses a root cause problem.
right, right.
They're not band aids.
That's right, and I
So
feel
yeah,
great on it. I did LDN and it wasn't magical for me. I have a client
yeah.
right now, I'm wanting her to start it. I have another client who started it and did some peptides and no longer has Hashimoto's.
That's
I
incredible.
know. I
Wow.
know.
Yeah, and I know LDN, not everybody can take it. I never had a problem. I was fortunate in that, but I also take black cumin seed oil when Dr. Amy came out with
Oh,
that. So I
yeah.
take them together and they actually have helps. Like, because one of my antibodies
Uh,
is always shows up as less than one, and then the other one fluctuates. It drives me crazy. It's sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 30. And it's a little bit frustrating, but for me, as long as I don't have symptoms, and I'm feeling good, then I don't worry too much about it.
mhm.
So, but Lisa, you are a certified integrative nutrition health coach. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, how you help people and what made you decide to get that degree and go into
Well,
that.
my kids were the ones who said, "You've been giving medical advice, albeit legally, for 20 years. You might as well have a certification." So by law, I cannot give medical advice, but I can help people sort out because that 10 to 15 minutes they have with a provider, and it is not the provider's fault. This is where I do
Yeah.
blame the insurance model.
Insurance. Yeah.
If a doctor has an insurance model, they get 10 to 15 minutes and they want to know more, but they have to get your weight and blood pressure and some other things. And by the time they ask you how your day is, the appointment's just about over.
Yep.
So I really like helping, especially women. I speak to some men too, but helping them sort through the maze that is perimenopause, the weight gain issue that's involved, the sleep issues that are involved, because when they go to their provider, they're just gonna get a sleeping pill when that's not addressing the root cause. And so I really want women, just like Dr. Amy does, and so many others, get to the root cause of why are your hormones out of whack? What can we do? Because now my new thing for everybody listening, here's my Lisa Fischer advice as a health coach. Get more sunlight. I don't care.
Yes.
Get more sunlight. But I got 10
Yes.
minutes. Get more. I heard
Yeah.
Dr. Satya Pandan, who's the foremost authority. He wrote their circadian code. Everyone needs to read that book or listen to it on Audible. And he said the other day, cumulatively, it's easy for you in Florida, but for others, they're going to go, "Huh."
Yeah.
Cumulatively, every day, you need an hour worth of sun exposure to your body. So it's 15 minutes in the morning with the UVB ray or
Like when the
UV.
sun comes up. You
Yes,
mean
and
like
when
the
the
red
sun
light?
comes up,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
maybe the UVA, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then 30 minutes of vitamin D,
Okay.
and then check your phone if you have the D Minder app, it's free. And then
Oh, I'm
as
going to get
this
that. Okay.
that oh,
D
I love
minder.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah, D
Okay.
Minder. And then as the sun starts to set, those are red rays again, and they set your melatonin. He says an hour a day. So before we even had this conversation, we're recording this in March, right? Yes, it is March.
March.
In
Yes.
Arkansas, we do have vitamin D year round. Your old people in Pennsylvania do not. So
Yeah.
they have 6 months where they don't have vitamin D. So it's challenging for them, but we do have vitamin D in Arkansas. So I just checked. I did 30 minutes this morning, about 9:15 to 9:45. Already did 15 minutes walking and then tonight or today as the sun sets, I'll do it again. Those things help your weight. Oh, plus
Mm.
I quit eating after the sunset.
Yes.
I
Yep.
lost 8 pounds. And
Yeah.
haven't meant to. Like, I'm at the age
Amazing.
where I don't wanna be Demi Moore and lose all the weight and look
Oh
like a
God, no.
skeleton. It's
No.
very, very unhealthy. It's frailty. That your grandmother died in the nursing home because she had a UTI that no one addressed, or she fell and broke a hip because she was frail. I don't wanna be frail. I'm
No, me
5'8" and
either.
150 pounds, and I wanna be strong.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up about sunlight. So I would recommend get a shelter dog, adopt a dog because I'm out all the time with my
Yes,
dog. We're out like when
walking.
the sun comes up.
That is
You know.
truly one of the best that's the best advice because you have to walk your dog. And you have
Yeah.
to be outside, and even on rainy days, because guess what? The sun's still doing its
Yeah.
job. There are still vitamin D rays. So I heard somebody say recently, I think Huberman said it. He goes, "We gotta quit calling it sunlight and just saying daylight. Because even
Yes.
as if the sun comes up, the sun's rays are there, but there may be cloudy days, rainy days, stormy days. Still get outside.
Yes.
And don't come at me about your sunburn. Quit wearing sunglasses, quit smoking, quit eating seed oils, and even I
Yes.
don't wear any sun protection on my skin, and you can see it right now.
It
I,
is
at
beautiful.
63, have amazing skin because I calloused my skin by starting with sunlight exposure. I am a um, skin Fitzpatrick for my Russian Jewish heritage, so I've never had a
Yeah.
sunburn. But get outside, do about 10 minutes this week, do 15 minutes, 20. And even my red-haired son who's out in the sun all day because he's an engineer for a construction firm, he would be the one that you'd think would burn. He calloused his skin. He doesn't wear sunglasses. And so stop wearing sunglasses, people. Throw them
Yes.
away.
That's another thing we've been so conditioned over the years.
So
Sunscreen and like the high SPF 30 or whatever.
Yes.
You
Oh,
got to wear
50.
this.
I had redheads. They
50.
were telling me I had to have SPF 50. I am so sorry, children, that I did that to you.
Yeah, I know. We didn't know any better. I mean,
No.
it's like it was like the margarine and butter. Oh, we could go on and on.
Right.
Well, and
Right.
even what were they telling people in 2020? Hide in your house, stay away from the
Well,
sun. What a joke. Yeah.
I started I started knowing who they were. They showed
Yeah.
me all their
Oh,
colors.
yes.
They're
That
lying to us.
completed my awakening. I feel like I'm fully awake
Yeah.
now
Yeah. I
after all
agree.
of that.
I agree.
Lisa, how do you work with people? So if somebody wants to work with you, do you work in conjunction with their doctor? If they have a doctor that they're seeing, like how does
Well,
that work?
a lot of times they don't. This is what happens when they have a doctor that they think has the mantra and the be all end all. When I say things like you need more sunlight, they'll go, "My doctor told me I need sunscreen."
Oh, yeah.
So that puts us it makes me look like the bad guy. So I meet with them virtually, obviously. They can go to my website, lisafishersaid.com/services, and I think you can schedule that way. It's $125 for 50 minutes. But I really encourage people, if they're coming to a health coach, they have to be open-minded
Mhm.
because their they think if they think their doctor has all the answers, I may not be the person for them. Again, I don't give medical advice, but I can say things like, have you considered sleeping more?
Yeah.
Sleep, how
It's
restorative it is.
huge.
It is so
Huge.
important.
Yeah.
And people we would poo-poo it and say, well, you sleep when you're dead. No, that you get dead if you don't get enough sleep.
That's
So
another
I
cultural thing. Go ahead. Yes.
Yes, yes. So I
Yeah.
work with people in starting their sleep in a good habit. Sunlight for sure. Nutrition is only about this much. And those
Mhm.
of you who are listening, I've got my fingers 2 inches from each other. It's the sleep and sunlight to me are the most important facets of your health because if you get those in sync with circadian rhythm, the other things all fall into place. Your
Yeah.
nutrition changes because if you're eating I would say eat as much locally raised food
I agree.
that you can possibly get. Now, again, there are people, if they're listening in Antarctica, enjoy your whale tonight because that's about all you're going to have. But the rest
Yeah.
of us, we're about to get into a growing season here in Arkansas and Florida. I mean, you have citrus trees year
Yeah.
round. Eat from the citrus tree, eat as much as you can locally and then
Mhm.
eat. I would say also eat only when the sun is up. If the sun sets, so guys, I was the one over Christmas holidays that at 4 because it sets in Arkansas about 4:55, 5 o'clock during those darker days, darker weeks that we have.
Yeah.
I didn't eat. And
Yeah.
now that we're having more sunlight, I bet my appetite increases. So my appetite decreased because just think about the bear that's in hibernation. He rests,
Yeah.
digests, and
Mhm.
his appetite isn't increased. His appetite increases when he starts to forage again. I'm using bear as an example because everyone
Yeah, but
thinks
it'd
of
be
a bear going into
sure.
hibernation, but even the deer, they're not up foraging at night. It's when the sun comes out. The birds don't come out and chirp and eat when the sun sets. It's only when the sun's up. So do like the diurnal animals, obviously not an owl. Don't do like an owl or cat.
But even say probably even cavemen did the same thing. They only probably ate when the sun was up because they didn't have
Of course, they did
electricity. So
right, they didn't have light to tell them that's it, the lights at your house are lying
exactly.
to you. It is not so your lights are telling you it's solar noon even at 9 o'clock, so it's not solar noon, so turn your lights off too.
You even sleep so much better too when you stop eating
I do.
after it gets dark.
In fact, my husband, I just said, because we're changing, clocks this
Yep.
weekend, in which I
Yep.
hate it because it's against our circadian rhythm. It's not
Yeah.
in nature of or how God designed it, but that's fine. I mean, that's the way the world works, except for Arizona and a few places
Yeah.
throughout the country. And I asked my husband, I said, "Okay, are we gonna start eating something called dinner again?" And he said, "No." He goes, "I sleep so much better by having"
Yeah.
now he's having a really big breakfast. He's a very muscular man, does 1,000 push-ups a day. He's kinda has this notoriety in Arkansas for that.
For
So
him, man.
I did 4 eggs this morning, bacon, sausage, sometimes
Mm.
steak, avocado, sauerkraut, sour cream, cheese. So he
Yum.
loads up in the morning. At lunch, he has nuts and, some protein choices, and he doesn't eat again. He said, "I sleep so much better this way." I
Yeah.
said, "Well, let's keep doing it." We're total weirdos. We know that.
You both look amazing and you're doing something
Well,
right.
thank you.
So,
And we're
and you
weirdos
feel good too.
together. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. It would be hard if you had a spouse that was like, nope, I'm eating dinner at 8 o'clock like they do in Paris. Then I can't help you with
Yeah.
that.
Is that ever an issue, just as an aside, with some of your clients? Did they ever have that issue where somebody in the house isn't in agreement with what they're
Yes.
doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
That'd
have
be
a
tough.
client right now who has battled her weight for years. And so her daughters are 16 and 19, and they're always watching mom to see what diet she's on. So I challenged her to eat before the sunset. And that was when the sun was setting at 5. And she just sighed and she goes, "Oh, my daughters are going to think it's another crazy diet." And I said, She said, "So it may be really challenging." I said, "Well, do what works for your family." Because her husband wanted to eat dinner at 6 p.m., no matter what time of year it was. And I said, "But I think you being present and being there, maybe sipping on some chamomile tea and
Yeah.
having a plate and being present is more important to them than what's on your plate." And it's showing them, just like the Mercedes, that you're taking care of your bodies, your Mercedes, your Lambo, whatever. You put the finest fuel in it and you don't keep topping the tank when it's full. And so
Right.
your tank may be full at 6 p.m. because you ate breakfast, lunch. And if you need a snack, great. I just don't, because I'm
Yeah.
so metabolically fit. But I've been intermittent fasting. That did change my life in 2017. That was my introduction, in fact, to this kind of way of eating and this health as a daily goal.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that, Lisa, and then I do want to talk about the nutrition piece and some of the influencers online. But talk about
Okay.
intermittent fasting first, what that
So
is for anybody who doesn't know, and
okay,
how you
it
do.
is time restricted eating. Again,
Yeah.
it's the way that the animals do it. It's the way our ancestors did it. The animals are a great group to look at. Because I like being outside early in the morning. I am an early
Yeah,
bird,
me too.
but you
Me
you
too.
can change that too. I've heard people. I have a client who changed. She was a night owl. She's now an early bird because she started working with her circadian rhythm. But if you're outside, you'll hear the birds start to chirp. I love that. I hear the deer and the other animals, and so they eat when the sun is up. So that's kind of the same. That's what Satya Pandan said, and he was on the Drew Pruitt podcast a couple of weeks ago. He's the one who's the foremost authority. He said, just eat when the sun's up. So that he says that is a time restricted way of eating, because he said, let's say the sun's up at 7 and then it sets at 6. That's a much longer eating window than I would have. But if it's a great place to start for you, then do it.
Mhm.
And then in the winter, you do have obviously shorter eating time. So I tell the story that my son, who I like to research, he really does. He's an engineer, and you want your engineer to love research. So for your building project, right?
Definitely.
And
Right.
so he came home from engineering school at LSU, about 7 hours from Little Rock, Baton Rouge is, and he was listening to podcasts, in 2015, 16, 17, early adopter. And he said, "Mom, have you heard about this intermittent fasting?" I said, "If you're telling me because you think your mother needs to lose weight, you won't see your 21st birthday," because he was 20. That's the kind of mother I am. He goes, "No, Mom, I'm telling you because it's about health." And I said, "What does starving yourself have to do with health?" That was my reply. I got so defensive. And he goes, "I don't know. I listen to these women." It was Jen Stevens and Melanie Avalon. But Jen Stevens, he goes, "They're Southern and they laugh a lot. So I don't, because it's two women." He goes, "But it's
Yeah.
called the Intermittent Fasting Podcast." And so that was a Friday night. I said, "So, okay, I'm an easy sell." I like, "Tell me more." And he goes, this was 6:30 at night. He goes, "Don't eat again till tomorrow at 12:30." And I went, "Go that long?" Like, oh my God. And so I did that the first day. This is when I used to be on the radio here. And so on those morning shows, you get up at about 3:30, 4 a.m., 4:30,
Yeah.
depending what time you have to be at the station. So I was getting up at 3:45 a.m., which also wrecks your circadian health. I mean, but it's what I
I'm
had to, it's
sure.
what I did.
Yeah.
And so the next day I was fine. And then the next on Monday morning was my first time back on the radio, where I will not have eaten ever. I mean, I was like, not eat before I'm on the radio. How can I entertain 100,000 people? And he was like, "You're going to be fine." I said, "If I die, this is on you." And he said, "You're not going to die, Mom." So I didn't tell anyone. And then a few weeks later, like on the radio, I said, "I've been toying with this thing called intermittent fasting." So this is 2017. And I got to know Jen Stevens. I reached out to her and said, "Would you be on?" I was hosting some radio show or something for somebody else. And sure, and so we got to know each other, and then it totally changed my life. In a month, I lost 10 pounds, and I was eating what we call an 18 and 6 window. I fasted for 18 hours, and I feasted for 6. And then that gets you through the metabolic process where you're not insulin resistant anymore. So I was insulin resistant for so many years.
Yeah.
No one told me. Like me being hungry all the time, that's a symptom something's not right.
Right. Yep.
Right. I'm only hungry when the fuel in my tank is low. Remember? Back to
Mhm.
topping off the fuel tank, you would never do that. But when my fuel tank is low, then I'm like, oh, it's time to eat. And then I eat, I stop, and I don't eat again until it's time to eat. And it's always within the time that the sun is up because I really am locked into the circadian rhythm. So that was the first thing that started helping me reduce some of my autoimmune conditions, this rare swallowing disorder. My clinician is an advanced clinician for gastroenterology, a GI doc who has known as an advanced clinician. He said he's never had anyone ever reverse their achalasia, but he said, "You have." And he said, "I've never seen it." He goes,
Awesome.
I said, "What do you think it is?" He said he knew I was an intermittent faster. He said, "We were never designed to eat all day and digest."
Yeah.
And he goes, "You give your digestion," because mine's a motility disorder with my esophagus. And he goes, "You've
I see.
given your esophagus a break. Your lower esophageal sphincter can work more effectively because you only eat in this amount of time. Your body does all the work again while the sun's up,
Right.
and then you're done." So it changed my
That is
life.
that is awesome. I really quickly said because I know I have to watch the time here. So I did
Oh,
want to talk about. Yeah, I've been listening to podcasts. I used to do blog talk radio like way back in the day, like in
wow. Yeah,
2009. So and it's great that we have all this information out
I
there.
know.
But I wanted to get your input on just talking about food because, and I listen to a lot of great podcasts, but there are, especially the men, it seems like there are some guys in this space who think like food is the answer to everything. So you have Hashimoto's, we'll just eat a low carb diet and it'll go away. So I'm all for good nutrition, absolutely. And I do the intermittent fasting like you. But I mean, I discovered Dr. Atkins in the late 90s. And when I developed Hashimoto's, it didn't matter because I could not, I gained weight and then I couldn't lose it. And it didn't matter how I was eating. So could you talk about that a little bit? Because I think there's a lot of conflicting information out there that may confuse, especially women, that may confuse a lot of women when they hear these things.
I will say the ketogenic diet, I hear a lot of people say it's not a forever. It's a place to get into ketosis and to
Mm.
maybe get there a minute to we want to not burden the liver and the pancreas and our organs with this constant chewing and swallowing and eating, right? So
Right.
a friend of mine, he's 45 and he was the Calvin Klein, one of the Calvin Klein models. Like he's this beautiful man, fitness. And so he always says, well, to his wife, "Well, tell them they just all need to be on the ketogenic diet." And that's not true. Once a woman hits perimenopause, kinda all bets are off.
Yeah.
And the rules, you have to find what works for you. I will say you will never go wrong eating whole foods, meaning you go to the outer perimeter of the grocery store.
Mhm.
There's nothing you really need on the inside of the grocery store. Now, there are a few products I do buy. I do buy tomato sauce sometimes. Depending what time of year it is, Arkansas does have wonderful tomatoes, and I do buy rice because
Mhm.
I like having rice, and I use Ralston Family Farms because the sponsor of my podcast, but it's an Arkansas product. So Arkansas is a huge one of the top rice growers in the world. So you kinda have to find what works for you, and that doesn't always mean the number on the scale, but how do you feel? How do you feel
Right.
when you eat like, if you ate all veggies all the time, I am wondering then where are you getting some protein?
Right.
And if you say, I eat protein bars, then I start going,
Mm,
that's
no.
processed." Like, that makes me
Yeah.
a little nervous. But I do have a client right now who's saying, she's diabetic, she's type 2 diabetic, which 75% of this country is
Very
there
sad.
or on their way. And she said, "So I'm eating, a vegetarian, not vegan, a vegetarian diet." I go, "What are you doing for protein?" She told me last week she puts flaxseed in her morning, maybe yogurt. And she does so and so, and she said, "I get 42 grams of protein in the morning." I go, "Well, okay, if you are, I'm not the food police. I'm not here to
Right.
police what you eat. I'm just here to kind of guide you so that's a good fit." But then if you come to me and say, Dave Asprey's the one who said he felt great as a vegan at first. And he said,
Mhm.
then all of a sudden he woke up and severe hair loss, severe anemia, I mean, all these things. He was like, "That may not be the right one for me," but it got him off fast foods and packaged foods. So
Right.
if you can turn the corner and stay away from fast foods and packaged foods, that's a huge step. And then from there, go to your local farmer's market. We're recording this in a time where every
Mhm.
farmer's market's going to have a bounty. Do you know you're helping local families feed their families
Yes.
by going there and tip them $5 this week? Because they're not making anything, guys. They are
Yeah.
broke. I mean, most of
No,
them,
and
right?
they're dealing with a lot of
So
stress too
that's
with the
right.
government and everything.
That's
Yes.
right. So tariffs, there are things that affect them. So go to your
Yes.
local farmer's market. There's often at ours, there's always a meat vendor too. And so
Mhm.
I have a pork farm, a pork dealer. I call them my dealers. I need pager numbers. I have my beef person. I have a team of people, and then I take it, I buy it, I put it in my freezer. Now the obviously fruits and vegetables are perishable, so I can go once a week, get what I need. I sadly I don't eat a lot. I don't eat fruits and vegetables out of season for sure because I try to eat as much locally as possible. But I mean, people ask, "What about fiber?" I really don't need any, so don't ask me about fiber, I don't need it, and I'm alive. I know that I probably have something if I had a colonoscopy, they'd find something and go, "Oh, you don't eat fiber," and then I might run and eat some fiber, but until then, I'm fine. Because 'cause I'm
Same
doing
here.
what works for me.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. This is so individualized. That's
Mhm.
one thing I've learned. And so I feel like it's great to listen to podcasts, but if you really want to optimize your own health, work with somebody like you. Like work with somebody who's going to guide you and personalize things for you because we're all different. There's bio individuality. I mean,
That's
that's,
right, N equals
so
1. I mean, we are all so unique. I will say,
yeah.
so my daughter is the one, she started, the health coaching certification, and she's the one that told me about it. She's a professional model. She'd been at TCU in Fort Worth, was living in Dallas. She said, "I think I'm gonna get this health coaching certification." She's the one that told me about it. I was like, "Great." She was a vegan at the time. And she got typhoid fever in Thailand. People
Oh,
died.
no.
Yes,
Oh,
because
my
she
God.
didn't get the vaccine before she went. Of course she didn't. And she was very, very sick. Uh, she's 5'9" and weighed like 130 and got down to like 150, 110. I mean, she was nothing
Like,
to her. No, and she got septic. I mean, it was terrible, terrible thing. So she meets this man from Cuba, and they eat a lot of pork. He lived in Argentina. South America is known for my daughter-in-law is from Brazil. Beautiful cattle and pork.
yes.
Well,
I love Brazilian restaurants.
aren't they the best? Oh my
They
gosh.
are awesome.
And so
Yeah.
he introduced meat to her. They got married. She got pregnant so quickly because she was nourishing her soul and her body again. Vegan
Yeah.
was cute. I mean, her hair was sparse. It's
Oh,
just
my.
hard
Yeah.
long term to do. But my point in all that is she had to find what works for her. Now they now might do more. I don't know what they do. They're caterers, and I know they do a lot of meats, but they might do personally more plant based sometimes, but they get as much it's local, they have no seed oils in their diet, and it's all organic. So that's what I'm saying. You have to then tweak what works best for you.
Yeah.
Y'all, it's hard to survive without the beautiful cow. I know a lot of
I
people don't
agree.
like pork, but eggs are amazing. Eat some eggs. Whatever you do
Mhm.
today, eat an egg.
Eat an egg. Eat a hamburger. I love
Eat
I
a
love to make my
hamburger,
own
right?
hamburgers. And the one thing I have to say, ground beef is great. Like people think that it has to be so expensive. Get ground beef on sale. You could do so many different things with it between like
That's
I made a
all
Mexican bowl the other night. I
I
made
do it all.
hamburgers yesterday. Yeah.
That's what we eat at breakfast now. So
Oh,
remember
cool. Do
we've
that.
switched,
Yeah.
we're not doing dinner. So
Yeah.
I do a beef bowl with taco meat, like my mouth's watering thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Me
I
yeah,
do one with Thai
exactly.
food. So I do all the Thai, that's when I do some vegetables. So there I have some fiber. I probably have a
Yeah, there
vegetable
you
as
go.
fiber.
Yeah.
But then ground
And
beef and fried eggs on it,
and
and some
eggs.
sour
Yeah.
cream.
And you're done. Yeah, I think too sometimes, especially I see this in the carnivore community. I'm not picking on anyone in particular, but
Yeah,
to hear these people, you would think that you have to be like this millionaire to do this diet. You could do it with ground beef. You could do it
ground
with, if you like chicken, you could do it with chicken. Like, it's just,
But,
it doesn't
now
have
I
to
don't
be.
we were also brainwashed about chicken being
Yeah,
superior. It
yeah,
doesn't
exactly. Yes, we
it
were. Oh, yeah. And then even the other white meat with pork. Like, I don't have
pork
anything against pork, but everything back then was to try to get people off of red meat.
off of
You
red
know,
meat, and red
yep.
meat is really what for me produces the most satiety.
Me too.
And that means
Yeah.
you're satiated, you don't want anything else. And chicken's not that great. Now I like chicken thighs better because my
Yeah.
body needs the fat. And fat
Yeah.
is more fat is flavor. That's it.
Yeah, fat is flavor. Oh, absolutely. And that's why I love like, some of these keto recipes too. You can find them
Yeah,
everywhere. So,
right.
but I guess my whole point was I just feel like people it's an individual thing. Yes, eat
It
whole
is.
foods. I do personally recommend red meat too.
Mhm.
But work with somebody who knows what they're doing, like you,
Yes.
because there's a lot of influencers out there, but this is not a one size fits all
Well, the other thing
solution.
I'm seeing, my gosh, is everyone's on a GLP-1 agonist.
I know. I
Have
know.
you? Well, now they're reaching out to me. Hey, will you get on our retatrutide or whatever that's called, or semaglutide, and then will you sell it to other people? I'm like, no, it's so dangerous. So when your influencer, it, it makes me so nervous. I was
Yeah.
raised, the people who raised me, the Gibson family who raised me, they were all lawyers. So now I think about lawsuits with everything.
Mhm.
So for you to recommend these people to go on a drug that typically they're on for life. I know some people, there are exit ramps, they're on and off ramps. Congratulations. But these GLP-1 agonists, influencers for the GLP-1 agonists, they're going ching 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 every time you buy
Exactly.
it. So I
Yeah.
I, I mean, if you have to get on GLP-1 agonist, I hope you do it for the shortest amount of time. As Mark Sisson says, the least minimal effective dose, I think he calls it minimal effective dose. Yeah,
Mhm.
do the lowest you could do, but and then get off.
Yeah, and it's like a personalized dose. I think I've heard people say that too, like an
Yeah, I have
individualized, but I
to.
don't know how many
Yeah,
people actually do that. How many doctors will actually do that for people though? Like you might think you're getting a personalized dose, but
yeah.
you're really not.
I think that's when
So
you kinda have to work with, like, functional medicine
yeah,
people who are really honed in on the math, because math's
exactly.
involved, so don't ask me about it. Math's involved.
Not my top subject. So
Right.
Lisa, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we haven't discussed? Because I
Oh,
know your time is
yes.
limited.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
we're fine. It's my daughter's coming, my catering daughter. Let me make sure she just messaged me that we're okay. Okay. They're on their way. And see, that's what she has brought me. My daughter's married the Cuban. They have one thing they've taught me is when you love to to prepare the food, your body is better nourished. And I think that's a
Yeah.
sweet way to put that. They always say their food's made with love. And
Oh,
it's what because God gave us this bounty to
yes.
enjoy, not to eat products from the inside of the grocery store. Like
Right.
there's never a time. Here's the other thing that Jen Stevens taught me, and that is hunger's never an emergency, meaning once you're metabolically fit, so I'm metabolically fit. That means I can go in and out of fat burning. I can go
Mhm.
into glucose burning and fat burning. And my body, if it sees, so I've done a 5-day fast. I've done 3 day. I used to do 3-day fast a lot, but it was pushing my cortisol up too much. But I think everyone needs to do a 1-day fast at least once a month. Yeah, but just kind of
Yeah.
empties your cancer bucket and some other things. But when you start realizing that hunger's not an emergency and you're on a road trip, you don't have to pull over to the gas station. Well, actually, now at the gas station, they've boiled eggs and nuts and
I've
cheese. Now
seen that. Yes. Yeah.
their nuts have seed oils, which all right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Unfortunately. Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do. But
Yeah.
there's never a time that we go, well, pull into Wendy's. Like we gotta eat what
No.
we don't. But I will say one time we were both on a 24-hour fast and we were driving through Wyoming, which is a beautiful part of the world. And there you go hours without even a gas station. And it'd been 24 hours. And my husband said, he goes, I got to eat something. We went into it. We drove through Wendy's and we asked them to put hamburger patties in a boat with
Mhm.
lettuce, tomato, pickles, mayonnaise, and mustard, and that was our meal. We did, like, 2 or 3 hamburger patties. So there we
Mhm.
were in a pinch
Yes.
because we really needed the protein at that point. He was driving, 8 hours at a time. I'm a passenger princess. I don't drive. I mean, I drive, but I don't wanna drive on a long trip.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear
I wanna
you.
be on my phone. But all that to say, it can be
Yeah.
done, and you
Yeah.
don't ever
Yes.
I used to so when my son Gibson first told me about intermittent fasting, the first thing I did when he remember, I'm not gonna eat for 18 hours, how am I gonna live? I brought, one of those Cliff Bars or something was in my purse,
Oh, yeah. I've
and
seen those.
after 6 months, I pulled it out going, "Oh, I never needed it because hunger's not an emergency.
Right.
If you feel hunger, it could be that your tank is low, drink water, always eat salt all day, that's the other thing we're lied to about.
I know, exactly. I know, I know. And I love Himalayan salt
I do
especially.
too, it's so
Oh, so
good.
it's awesome. Yeah, it's delicious. So, well, thank you so much, Lisa, for joining me. This was a
Well,
real
you're
pleasure.
a doll, and thank you for loving people like you do. Thank you for raising the banner high on people with autoimmune conditions, advocating for yourself. You've been on my podcast. Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Well,
You're
thank
just
you.
a doll, and you're so cheerful, and that you exude enthusiasm and love for other people. So I know people love your podcast.
Aw, thank you, Lisa. Well, be talking to you soon, and thanks again.
Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Dr. Liz. I just want to tell you how amazing and easy it was to work with Daria on my book. You see, I've had a book for a while, been sitting on my desk, sitting on my computer. Maybe you might be able to relate to that. And I didn't know what to do, how to take it to the next step, how to make it look polished and edited and easy and useful for my readers. Met with Daria. We had some great conversations. She learned my voice, my goal, my style, and she was able to edit and give me feedback on how to make my message clearer, more focused, polished, and it worked. I have a book. In fact, I have a book and a workbook that she's edited for me and guided me along the pathway. So if you're maybe a little bit like me, that you have a book or you have an idea and you haven't known where to take it, how to take it to the next stage, reach out to Daria. She's a game changer and she's really easy to work with and takes great pride in her work as well. So join me in the published author arena. Reach out to Daria. I'm Dr. Liz.